FNaF World was released unfinished and rather buggy. There have been two major updates, both of which address some of these issues, but a number still remain. I'm going to cover some of the major issues in this episode, both that have been fixed and that have not. I'm not going to touch on every single problem, as some were performance related or whatever, but here's the list I've compiled so far. Starting with the original release, the most prominent bug by far was the load screen glitch. I've covered this bug in multiple videos already, but the basics of it are that if you entered glitch mode, stood over top of an interactable object, and opened and closed a menu, you would then interact with that object as if you were standing in the overworld. You could use this to fight bosses out of turn, collect chests you were supposed to find elsewhere, and travel through funhouse tents to other areas, including out of bounds. This bug was fixed in Update 1. Aside from adding new features, Update 2 allowed for diagonal movement. The vectors were not properly calculated, so moving diagonally is actually 1.4 times the speed of moving left, right, up, or down. Update 2 also fixed a discrepancy with Nightmare Fredbear introduced in Update 1, which claimed he had the Freddles ability, when instead he had bad pizza. He now actually has Freddles, despite having always had bad pizza prior to this. Some versions of Update 2 had leftover coding, which unlocked certain trophies or characters before players had actually achieved them. Among these were Animdude and Mr. Chipper, whom Scott had intended to be unlocked by defeating Animdude and Chipper's Revenge, but later changed to be unlocked by winning the Chica's Magic Rainbow minigame. I have also heard of people getting the Rainbow Trophy without actually defeating her. A patch also had to repair the fan, which would fail to appear even after all 48 characters were unlocked. The current version has the fan working correctly. If you're playing on a laptop and close the lid while the game is running, some events can be stalled until you return to the game. Then they happen all at once. For instance, try standing in Fazbear Hills and doing this. Occasionally birds fly by in Fazbear Hills, so if you leave the lid closed for a long time and then return, you will be greeted with a huge flock of birds all flying across the screen. Closing the lid during a battle may cause certain attacks to behave erratically also. This bug appears to have been patched out, but still worked in Update 1. If two events attempt to occur on the same game tick, you can get some interesting results. For instance, if a random encounter occurs the moment you should have entered a boss battle, you will first face the random encounter normally. However, as soon as you beat it, you'll immediately be thrown into the boss fight, but your party won't show up. Unless you have adequate bites and chips to defeat the boss for you, this is a soft lock since you can't run, switch, or do anything to summon your party back. If you meet a random encounter on the border of two realms, there's a chance the fight will take place in the wrong realm, hence giving you enemies you would normally not encounter there. If your last save position is on top of a boss fight, you will immediately enter that boss fight the next time you load that save. However, the game will not immediately load your character's stats, instead giving them default HP. You can use healing abilities to get yourself back to max, but this can prove to be a serious disadvantage against harder bosses. That's why you shouldn't save your position at the boss fight. Now this one can be tricky to replicate, as it requires precision timing, but if you reset your party and then immediately click done, you can proceed before the game realizes you have no party. This results in your entire party being comprised of character 0, or a default Freddy with only a non-functioning mic toss. Running from a challenger while having the chip find characters enabled can result in the infinite encounters glitch. This is best observed if you haven't yet faced any challengers, are in a more advanced area, and also equip Run Luck. Basically, all you have to do once you meet a challenger is hold R. Unless you are killed or defeat the challenger before you successfully run away, you will continue to encounter the same challenger over and over endlessly. Area 23, or Glitch Mode, is the most unique area in the game, and some of its unique properties can lead to peculiar side effects, namely the fact that Glitch Mode disables any map triggers. When traversing the overworld, anytime you cross a trigger you enter a new area, but this doesn't immediately write to the save file. To save your position, you can open and close a menu, fight a battle, talk to a vendor, or just hit the save button. Closing the game does not save your position. Neither does entering a subtunnel or going to the Halloween backstage. Therefore, when you return to the main map after having done one of those things, the game checks the file for your last save position. Closing and reopening the game will simply place you back at that position, but the subtunnels and the Halloween backstage will change your coordinates to where you're supposed to exit. However, this action does not automatically update your area. You are intended to land on a map trigger at the exit of the subtunnel, therefore placing you in the new area. But if your last saved area was 23, the change does not trigger, so you return to glitch mode upon exiting the subtunnel. This can be used to skip other areas of the map in a similar fashion to tent hopping, but is more difficult to achieve since you have to get from glitch mode to the subtunnel entrance without meeting any random encounters. I do not recommend doing this with the Halloween backstage because the exit coordinates land you precisely on top of a glitch mode border, meaning you then can't move. When fighting a battle, you may have noticed sometimes attacks linger after your victory. For instance, throwing a prize ball right as you win can result in the prize ball remaining open at the bottom of the screen. Most of the time this is harmless. The attack disappears as soon as you return to the map. Sometimes, however, this carryover can have more drastic effects, and the enemies can do it too, not just your party. This happens when an attack is called after the battle is over. Certain events can miss their end calls if activated too late and therefore stay until ended later by another event. This most often occurs because of a mimic ball, which may run its mimic sequence well after victory, though often the action fails. If the mimic ball is mimicking a prize ball, the event can happen even later, and even carry over after the battle has concluded and you return to the map. Most of the time, again, this is harmless. You might receive a brief pink flash on your screen as a result of cupcakes, or experience the jump scare screen while on the map. Upon entering another battle, the screen may shake as the jump scare sequence finishes. Perhaps the most jarring version of this is if the prize ball summons Water Hose. Water Hose will not receive an end call if the battle ends before it completes, so it will stay on your screen even after you return to the map. Reloading the game or entering another fight and throwing Water Hose again will get rid of it. It's especially annoying when an opponent is gifted this ability. An attack thrown after victory may carry over to the next battle and strike your party immediately, sometimes fatally. Multiple times I've had an enemy throw something like Escape Key, meaning when I enter the next battle, half my party is already dead. The mobile version has its own twist on this. While the mobile version is generally buggier overall in the battles, sometimes failing to let you use an attack at all, one of its more humorous quirks is that it's even worse at stopping attacks after victory. My favorite is Balloons 2, which if they don't make contact with the enemy will continue to bounce all over the screen until you return to the map. There are some nitpicky things I've noticed that don't really have any effect, but I thought I'd point them out anyway. Coffee is the only party member who has no shadow. Sometimes attacks fail to produce sound effects. The party menu has an off by 1 error on character levels that was not present in the original release. However, this may have been an intentional change, perhaps so that characters would start at 1 rather than 0. It does complicate save file manipulating slightly, but that's about it. The same goes for why next shows 100 when it should be 0. So there you have some of the more prominent bugs and glitches in FNaF World. Let me know if you're aware of any I missed, and tell me what you think I should cover next.